Okay, today's Java class will be on strings. So we talked about strings in our data types class, and you might have noticed that string starts with a capital letter, unlike the other data types like ints or doubles. This is because a string is a class, meaning it can also have methods, which we learned about last class. So you can call methods on strings and give parameters and get back a return value, but you can't do that for integers or doubles. This is because integers, doubles, booleans, and chars are what we call primitive data types. The length method returns an integer and it requires no parameters. If we create a string variable with the value Jerry, we can now create an integer variable that's equal to the length of the name Jerry. In this case, name length would be 5, and that's what would be printed out because Jerry is 5 letters long. Now, an important concept is indices or indexes. An index is a spot in a string or a list, so if you wanted to say the first character in a string, you'd say the character at the first index. In Java, indices start at 0 instead of 1, so the first element of a string or a list is actually at index 0. In this picture, you can see the J is at index 0, and even though there are 5 letters, the last letter is at index 4. The char at method gets you the character at a specific spot in a string. It requires one integer parameter, which is the index of the character you want. In this example, we want to get the first letter of name, so we set the variable first letter to name.char at 0, which will return J. Now when you print this, you'll get J. The index of method gets the index or location of a character or string in a larger string. You can pass either a char variable or a string variable into the method as a parameter. In this example, we're searching for the index of the character A. Since it's at the 4th position and the first index starts at 0, the index of A is 3, and that's what will be printed out. Here we give the method a string, and it'll find the index where Barry starts. This means you'll get back the index of the B in Barry, which is 5. If we passed in something that wasn't in the string, like apple or banana, then we would get back -1. The substring method gets a smaller part of a string. It can have either one parameter or two parameters depending on what you give it. If you give it one parameter, it'll use that as the start index for the substring and give you back everything from the start to the end. Since it's giving back a string, just smaller, the return type is still string. In this example, we want to get the second half of the word strawberry, so we start in the middle and we go until the end. We only need one parameter for this, which is a start index. We know strawberry has 10 letters, so the start index will be 5 to get in the middle. When we print our variable second half, we get berry. Now what if we wanted to get the first half? We don't want to go all the way until the end this time, so now we need to specify the end index as well. Here we have our start index as 0 and our end index as 5, which gives us the first half of the word, which is just straw. Note that the end index will not be included in the substring. So for example, in strawberry, we use 5, but the character at index 5 is B, and B is not included in our substring. The dot equals method checks if two strings have the same value. Since it's just checking if something's true or false, it returns a Boolean data type. It has one string parameter, which is a string to compare the first string to. So in this example, we have the secret word and the player's guess, both of which are caret. This means the player correctly guessed the secret word. We can check if they guessed it by using an if statement and then print something if they did. So we have secret word dot equals player guess. A similar method to the dot equals is dot equals ignore case, which checks if two strings are equal, but it ignores casing or capitalization. Here we have two string variables that look kind of similar. However, word2 has an I in it instead of an O. So because the letters are different, it'll print false. In the next one, all the characters are the same, but word 2 has different capitalizations. Since we're ignoring case, it'll still print true. If we had used the normal equals method here, it would have printed false because dot equals makes sure that casing is also the same. Now we have two more methods that change the case or capitalization of a string. Dot to uppercase makes a string's letters all uppercase, and dot to lowercase makes a string's letters all lowercase. Both of these methods have no parameters and they return a string. The word caret is capitalized and printed out, and you can see the output below. Same thing here, but instead it's all lowercase. Okay, so in Java, there are these things called escape sequences, where when you print things or when you want to have something special in a string, you can use a backslash. So for example, let's say you wanted a new line between different parts of a string. You could use the new line escape sequence with a \n. So in this example, we're printing the word hello, but each letter is on a new line. Now we have the tab escape sequence, which is \t. We can just replace every \n with \t, and now we have the word hello separated by a tab instead of a new line. You may or may not have thought about this before, but what if you wanted to print a double quote or a single quote in your program? You can't type the double quote because it has a special meaning in Java, and that would be to close the string you're making or printing. So we can use an escape sequence, which would be a backslash followed by a double quote or a single quote, and this will print out those quotes without the slash, of course. So here we use it for double quotes. We have our backslash and we have our quote, double quote, and then we say Jerry, and then another backslash and double quote, and then we have our actual double quote to just end the string. And you'll see here the output will be Jerry and there won't be any backslash. And here we use it for a single quote. Now since we just learned the backslash also has a special meaning in Java, what if we wanted to print the backslash? Well, we would use two backslashes. The first is the escape key and the second is what we actually want to print. So we have two backslashes and the output will really just be one. Okay, so these are some exercises. This is exercises 1 and 2, and we have 3 and 4 here. So I encourage you to try these out for yourself, and as always, if you need any help or if you want your solutions to be checked, you can join our Discord server, which will be linked in the description below. And that's all for today.